Moonvale was a quiet town, nestled between dense forests and a serene lake. The kind of place where everyone knew each other and nothing much happened. Emma had lived here all her life, finding comfort in its familiar streets and friendly faces. Summer had just begun, and she was looking forward to long days of exploring the woods and lazy afternoons by the lake with her friends. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma sat on her porch, watching the fireflies dance. She loved the peace of the twilight hour, when the world seemed to hold its breath. But tonight felt different. A chill ran down her spine as she noticed something odd, a strange, dense fog rolling in from the forest. It was unusual for this time of year. "Emma, come inside. Dinner's ready," her mom called from the kitchen. With a final glance at the fog, Emma went inside. The warmth of her home was welcoming, but the unease lingered. Emma lived with her parents and her younger brother, Tommy. Their house was a cozy, old Victorian with a wrap-around porch, perfect for summer evenings. The family was close-knit, sharing stories and laughter around the dinner table. Tonight, however, the mood was subdued. "Did you see that fog outside?" Emma's mom, Sarah, asked as she placed a steaming dish of pasta on the table. Emma nodded. "Yeah, it's really thick. I've never seen anything like it." Her dad, John, looked thoughtful. "It's unusual, but probably just a weather anomaly. We'll see if it clears up by morning." Tommy, who was only 8, seemed oblivious to the tension. "Can I go play in the fog tomorrow?" he asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Sarah smiled, ruffling his hair. "Let's see how it looks in the morning, okay? Now eat your dinner." After dinner, Emma went up to her room. She pulled out her journal, a habit she'd developed over the years, and began to write about the strange fog. Her room was a sanctuary, filled with books, posters of her favorite bands, and the comforting clutter of a teenager's life. "Dear Diary," she wrote, "something weird is happening in Moonveil. The fog rolled in tonight, and it feels wrong. I can't shake the feeling that something bad is going to happen." As she finished writing, she heard a soft tap on her door. "Come in," she called. Tommy poked his head in. "Emma, can you read me a story?" She smiled, patting the bed beside her. "Sure, little buddy. Which one do you want?" Tommy climbed up and handed her a worn copy of Peter Pan. Emma began to read, her voice soothing and calm. Soon, Tommy was asleep, his little face peaceful. After tucking Tommy into his bed, Emma went to the window and looked out at the fog. It had grown even thicker, swirling ominously under the streetlights. She shivered and drew the curtains closed, trying to push the uneasy feeling away. The next morning, the fog was still there, heavier and more oppressive than before. It wrapped around the town like a cold embrace, muffling sounds and casting everything in a ghostly light. Emma met up with her friends, Jake and Lily, at the local diner, a small, cozy place that served the best pancakes in town. "Morning," Jake said, sliding into the booth next to Emma. He was tall and lanky, with a mop of unruly brown hair and a perpetual grin. "Hey," Lily said, joining them. She was petite with fiery red hair and a fierce spirit to match. "What's up with this fog? It's been here all night." Emma shrugged. "I don't know, but it gives me the creeps." They ordered their usual breakfast and chatted about their summer plans, but the fog was a constant topic. As they were leaving, they overheard a conversation between 2 elderly men sitting at the counter. "Did you hear about the Turners?" one of them said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "No, what happened?" the other replied. "Old Mrs. Turner disappeared last night. Just vanished into thin air." Emma, Jake, and Lily exchanged worried glances. Mrs. Turner was one of the oldest residents in Moonvale, known for her eccentricities and love of gardening. "Do you think it's related to the fog?" Lily whispered as they walked outside. "Maybe," Jake said. "We should check it out." Emma agreed, feeling a mix of curiosity and fear. They decided to visit Mrs. Turner's house later that day. When they arrived, they found the door slightly ajar. The house was quiet, too quiet. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as they stepped inside. The air was cold, and a faint draft seemed to come from nowhere. "Hello, Mrs. Turner?" Emma called out, but there was no response. They explored the house, finding everything in its place, yet something felt off. Emma noticed a book on a shelf, its spine cracked and worn. She pulled it out and found it was a journal, filled with notes and entries spanning decades. June 5th, 1923. "The fog is back. I fear it brings with it the curse of Moonveil. The disappearances have started again. We must find the source and stop it." Emma's hands trembled as she read aloud. "This isn't the first time this has happened." They continued reading, discovering that every few decades, the fog would return, and with it, the townspeople would start to disappear. The journal spoke of an ancient curse placed on Moonveil, a curse that could only be broken by finding and destroying the source, a hidden artifact deep within the forest. "We have to find it," Emma said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. Jake and Lily nodded in agreement. They knew what they had to do, even though the thought of venturing into the fog-filled forest was terrifying. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. What if they couldn't find the artifact? What if the curse couldn't be broken? She glanced at her journal, feeling a sudden urge to write. "Dear Diary, today we found out that the fog isn't just a strange weather phenomenon. It's part of an ancient curse. People have disappeared before, just like Mrs. Turner. We're going to try to find the source and break the curse. I'm scared, but we have to do this." The next morning, Emma met up with Jake and Lily. They packed supplies, flashlights, food, water, and the journal and headed into the forest. The fog was even thicker here, reducing visibility to just a few feet. Every sound was amplified, the rustling of leaves and the snapping of twigs echoing eerily. "Stay close," Jake said, his voice barely a whisper. They followed the clues in the journal, navigating through the dense undergrowth until they reached a clearing. In the center stood an ancient stone altar, covered in moss and strange symbols. "This must be it," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma approached the altar, feeling a strange pull. As she reached out to touch it, a figure emerged from the fog, a shadowy, menacing presence. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. Emma stood her ground. "We know about the curse. We know what we have to do." The figure laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You cannot break the curse. It is eternal." But Emma had noticed something in the journal, a hidden page that spoke of a way to weaken the curse. She recited the words, her voice steady despite the fear. The ground shook, and the fog began to recede. The figure shrieked, its form dissolving into the mist. The altar cracked, revealing a hidden compartment with a small, ornate box. Emma opened it, finding a shard of dark, glistening crystal. This must be the source. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and then everything went still. The fog lifted, the oppressive weight that had hung over Moonveil dissipating. The townspeople reappeared, confused but unharmed. Emma, Jake, and Lily returned as heroes, their bravery becoming the stuff of local legend. As the days passed, Moonveil began to heal. The town returned to its peaceful routine, But the story of the curse and the brave teenagers who broke it was never forgotten. Emma often thought about that night, the eerie fog, and the shadowy figure. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger. And as she sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. The days following Mrs. Turner's disappearance were filled with an eerie calm, a quiet that seemed to seep into every corner of Moonveil. The fog remained, thicker and more oppressive, transforming the town into a ghostly landscape where shadows danced and whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. Emma, Jake, and Lily gathered every day, poring over the journal they had found. The entries were sporadic, but each one painted a chilling picture of a town haunted by an ancient curse. June 7, 1923. Another soul lost to the fog. They found Robert's hat by the old oak tree, but no sign of him. The elders speak of a time long ago when a great wrong was done, a curse cast upon our land. We must find the source. June 7, 1923. Another soul lost to the fog. They found Robert's hat by the old oak tree, but no sign of him. The elders speak of a time long ago when a great wrong was done, a curse cast upon our land. We must find the source and put an end to this madness. Each entry added to their mounting fear and determination. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. More people were starting to act strangely, their eyes glazed, movements sluggish, as if the fog were seeping into their very souls. "We need to find more clues," Emma said one afternoon as they sat in her living room. The journal spread out before them. "Something that can tell us exactly where to look." "There's got to be something we're missing," Jake agreed, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Maybe we should talk to some of the older folks in town. They might know more about the legend." Lily nodded. "My grandma has lived here all her life. She might know something." The trio decided to start with Lily's grandmother, Mrs. Peterson, who lived in a small, charming house on the outskirts of town. As they approached, they noticed the fog seemed less dense here, almost as if it were avoiding the area. "Grandma, we're here," Lily called as they stepped onto the porch. Mrs. Peterson greeted them with a warm smile, her eyes twinkling with a lifetime of stories. Come in. What brings you kids here?" They explained what they had found in Mrs. Turner's journal and their suspicions about the fog. Mrs. Peterson listened intently, her expression growing serious. "I was afraid this day would come again," she said softly. "The curse of Moonveil is an old and powerful one. It dates back to when the first settlers arrived. They disturbed something ancient in the forest, something that should have been left alone." She reached for a dusty old book from a nearby shelf, its pages yellowed with age. "This is the history of Moonveil, written by our ancestors. It speaks of a dark spirit, angered by the settlers' intrusion, who cursed the land. Every few decades, the spirit awakens, bringing the fog and taking those who wander too far into its grasp." Emma, Jake, and Lily listened, their hearts pounding. "Is there any way to stop it?" Emma asked. Mrs. Peterson nodded. "There is a ritual, a way to weaken the spirit and break the curse. But it requires great courage and the willingness to face the spirit directly." She flipped through the book, stopping at a page filled with strange symbols and an ancient language. "This is the ritual. You must perform it at the old stone altar in the forest. But be warned, the spirit will try to stop you. You must stay strong." With the book in hand and a renewed sense of purpose, they left Mrs. Peterson's house. The fog seemed to press in around them, colder and more sinister than before. "We have to do this tonight," Emma said, before more people disappear. They gathered supplies and met at the edge of the forest as the sun began to set, casting long shadows that merged with the fog. The forest loomed before them, dark and foreboding. "Ready?" Jake asked, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Emma nodded, clutching the book tightly. "Let's do this." They entered the forest, the fog swallowing them whole. Every sound was amplified: the crunch of leaves underfoot, the rustle of branches, their own breathing. It felt as if the forest were alive, watching their every move. As they ventured deeper, the fog grew thicker, reducing visibility to mere inches. The path became twisted and hard to follow, but Emma kept her eyes on the book, guiding them through the maze. "Here," she said finally, stopping in a small clearing. In the center stood the ancient stone altar, just as Mrs. Peterson had described. It was covered in moss and strange symbols, the air around it heavy with a sense of malevolence. They approached cautiously, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the stone. Emma opened the book to the page with the ritual and began to read the incantation, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the clearing, extinguishing their flashlights. The fog swirled violently, and the shadowy figure emerged once more, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its voice echoing through the darkness. Emma stood her ground. "We know about the curse. We know what we have to do." The figure laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You cannot break the curse. It is eternal." But Emma had noticed something in the journal, a hidden page that spoke of a way to weaken the curse. She recited the words, her voice growing stronger with each syllable. The ground began to shake, and the fog seemed to writhe in pain. The figure shrieked, its form flickering and becoming less solid. Jake and Lily joined in, their voices merging with Emma's. The light from the book grew brighter, pushing back the darkness. The figure howled in rage and fear, its shape dissolving into mist. The altar cracked, revealing a hidden compartment with a small, ornate box. Emma opened it, finding a shard of dark, glistening crystal. "This must be the source," she said, her voice trembling. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and then everything went still. The fog lifted, the oppressive weight that had hung over Moonveil dissipating. The townspeople reappeared, confused but unharmed. Emma, Jake, and Lily returned as heroes, their bravery becoming the stuff of local legend. As the days passed, Moonveil began to heal. The town returned to its peaceful routine, but the story of the curse and the brave teenagers who broke it was never forgotten. Emma often thought about that night, the eerie fog, and the shadowy figure. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger. And as she sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. The evening air was thick with anticipation as Emma, Jake, and Lily prepared for their final confrontation with the dark spirit. The weight of their task hung heavily on their shoulders, but there was no turning back now. They had the book, they knew the ritual, and they had each other. The moon was full, casting an ethereal glow over the town. The fog had receded slightly, as if anticipating the coming battle. Emma glanced at her friends, drawing strength from their determined expressions. "We need to be careful," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The spirit will do everything it can to stop us." Jake nodded, gripping his flashlight tightly. "We stick together, no matter what." Lily adjusted her backpack, filled with the supplies they might need. "Let's end this." They set off towards the forest, the shadows closing in around them. The air grew colder with each step, and the sounds of the night seemed to fade away, leaving only the ominous rustling of the trees. As they approached the clearing where the stone altar stood, the fog thickened once more, swirling like a living entity. The air was charged with a sense of foreboding, and Emma's heart pounded in her chest. "We're almost there," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The altar came into view, looming like a sentinel in the darkness. The strange symbols carved into its surface seemed to pulse with an otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Emma took a deep breath and opened the book to the page with a ritual. She began to recite the incantation, her voice strong and clear. The air around them seemed to vibrate with energy, and the fog swirled more violently. Suddenly, the shadowy figure emerged from the fog, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its voice filled with malice. Emma's heart skipped a beat, but she continued the ritual. "We know about the curse. We know how to break it." The figure laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down their spines. "You cannot break the curse. It is eternal." But Emma had read the hidden page in the journal, the one that spoke of the way to weaken the spirit. She recited the words, her voice growing louder and more confident. The ground shook, and the fog seemed to writhe in pain. The figure shrieked, its form flickering and becoming less solid. Jake and Lily joined in, their voices merging with Emma's. The light from the book grew brighter, pushing back the darkness. The figure howled in rage and fear, its shape dissolving into mist. The altar cracked, revealing a hidden compartment with a small, ornate box. Emma opened it, finding a shard of dark, glistening crystal. "This must be the source," she said, her voice trembling. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and then everything went still. The fog lifted, the oppressive weight that had hung over Moonveil dissipating. The townspeople reappeared, confused but unharmed. Emma, Jake, and Lily returned as heroes, their bravery becoming the stuff of local legend. As the days passed, Moonveil began to heal. The town returned to its peaceful routine, but the story of the curse and the brave teenagers who broke it was never forgotten. Emma often thought about that night, the eerie fog, and the shadowy figure. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger. And as she sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. The day after Mrs. Turner's disappearance, the fog persisted, growing thicker and more ominous. Emma, Jake, and Lily found themselves drawn into a mystery that seemed to deepen with every passing hour. They had agreed to meet at the library, a place where they could delve further into the town's history. The Moonveil Library was a grand old building, with towering shelves and a musty smell that hinted at the countless stories contained within. Mrs. Haverford, the elderly librarian, greeted them with a curious smile. "Hello, dears. What brings you here today?" she asked, her voice soft and welcoming. "We're looking for information about the town's history," Emma explained. "Specifically, anything about the fog and disappearances?" Mrs. Haverford's eyes darkened. "Ah, the curse of Moonveil. Follow me." She led them to a secluded corner of the library where dusty volumes lined the shelves. These books contain records and journals from the early settlers. You might find what you're looking for here. "Thank you," Emma said, feeling a sense of gratitude mixed with unease. They spent hours poring over the old books, finding fragments of the town's past. One journal, in particular, caught Emma's attention. It was written by a man named Jonathan Graves, an early settler who had documented the first appearance of the fog. May 12, 1783, the fog has come again, and with it, the disappearances. We are cursed, I am certain of it. The elders speak of a great wrong committed long ago, a spirit angered by our intrusion. I fear for the safety of our town. As Emma read aloud, a chill ran down her spine. "This isn't the first time this has happened," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake nodded, his face serious. "We need to find out more about this spirit and what happened to cause the curse." Lily pointed to a map tucked into the back of the journal. "Look at this. It's a map of the forest with a marked location. It must be where the altar is." Emma's heart raced. "We have to go there, tonight." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the town, they gathered their supplies and set out for the forest. The air was cold and damp, the fog wrapping around them like a shroud. The path was difficult to follow, but the map guided them through the twisted trees and dense undergrowth. They reached the clearing as darkness fell, the stone altar looming like a sentinel in the gloom. The strange symbols etched into its surface seemed to pulse with an eerie light, casting shadows that danced around them. Emma opened the book and began to recite the incantation, her voice strong and clear despite the fear gnawing at her insides. The air vibrated with energy, and the fog swirled more violently. Suddenly, the shadowy figure emerged, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its voice filled with malice. Emma stood her ground, her heart pounding. "We know about the curse. We know how to break it." The figure laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You cannot break the curse. It is eternal." But Emma had read the hidden page in the journal, the one that spoke of the way to weaken the spirit. She recited the words, her voice growing louder and more confident. The ground began to shake, and the fog seemed to writhe in pain. The figure shrieked, its form flickering and becoming less solid. Jake and Lily joined in, their voices merging with Emma's. The light from the book grew brighter, pushing back the darkness. The figure howled in rage and fear, its shape dissolving into mist. The altar cracked, revealing a hidden compartment with a small, ornate box. Emma opened it, finding a shard of dark, glistening crystal. "This must be the source," she said, her voice trembling. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and then everything went still. The fog lifted, the oppressive weight that had hung over Moonveil dissipating. The townspeople reappeared, confused but unharmed. Emma, Jake, and Lily returned as heroes, their bravery becoming the stuff of local legend. As the days passed, Moonveil began to heal. The town returned to its peaceful routine, but the story of the curse and the brave teenagers who broke it was never forgotten. Emma often thought about that night, the eerie fog, and the shadowy figure. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger. And as she sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. The night air was thick with tension as Emma, Jake, and Lily prepared for their final confrontation with the dark spirit. The weight of their task hung heavily on their shoulders, but there was no turning back now. They had the book, they knew the ritual, and they had each other. The moon was full, casting an ethereal glow over the town. The fog had receded slightly, as if anticipating the coming battle. Emma glanced at her friends, drawing strength from their determined expressions. "We need to be careful," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The spirit will do everything it can to stop us." Jake nodded, gripping his flashlight tightly. "We stick together, no matter what." Lily adjusted her backpack, filled with the supplies they might need. "Let's end this." They set off towards the forest, the shadows closing in around them. The air grew colder with each step, and the sounds of the night seemed to fade away, leaving only the ominous rustling of the trees. As they approached the clearing where the stone altar stood, the fog thickened once more, swirling like a living entity. The air was charged with a sense of foreboding, and Emma's heart pounded in her chest. "We're almost there," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The altar came into view, looming like a sentinel in the darkness. The strange symbols carved into its surface seemed to pulse with an otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Emma took a deep breath and opened the book to the page with a ritual. She began to recite the incantation, her voice strong and clear. The air around them seemed to vibrate with energy, and the fog swirled more violently. Suddenly, the shadowy figure emerged from the fog, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its voice filled with malice. Emma's heart skipped a beat, but she continued the ritual. "We know about the curse. We know how to break it." The figure laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down their spines. "You cannot break the curse. It is eternal." But Emma had read the hidden page in the journal, the one that spoke of the way to weaken the spirit. She recited the words, her voice growing louder and more confident. The ground began to shake, and the fog seemed to writhe in pain. The figure shrieked, its form flickering and becoming less solid. Jake and Lily joined in, their voices merging with Emma's. The light from the book grew brighter, pushing back the darkness. The figure howled in rage and fear, its shape dissolving into mist. The altar cracked, revealing a hidden compartment with a small, ornate box. Emma opened it, finding a shard of dark, glistening crystal. "This must be the source," she said, her voice trembling. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and then everything went still. The fog lifted, the oppressive weight that had hung over Moonveil dissipating. The townspeople reappeared, confused but unharmed. Emma, Jake, and Lily returned as heroes, their bravery becoming the stuff of local legend. As the days passed, Moonveil began to heal. The town returned to its peaceful routine, but the story of the curse and the brave teenagers who broke it was never forgotten. Emma often thought about that night, the eerie fog and the shadowy figure. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger. And as she sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready. The morning after the curse was broken, the town of Moonveil awoke to a day unlike any they had experienced in weeks. The air was clear and fresh, the oppressive fog now just a memory. The townspeople went about their daily routines, the tension that had gripped the community slowly dissolving. Emma, Jake, and Lily became local heroes, their stories spreading quickly through the small town. They were praised for their bravery and celebrated for their victory over the dark spirit. But for Emma, the real triumph was more personal. She had faced her deepest fears and emerged stronger. The town held a celebration in the park, a joyous occasion that brought everyone together. There were games, food stalls, and music, the laughter and chatter filling the air. Emma stood with her family, soaking in the sense of normalcy and relief. "You did a great thing, Emma," her mom said, giving her a proud smile. "We're so proud of you." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without Jake and Lily." Her friends joined her, their faces lit with the same sense of accomplishment and relief. The bond between them had grown even stronger through their ordeal, and they knew they would always be there for each other, no matter what. As the celebration continued, Mrs. Peterson approached the trio, her eyes twinkling with a mix of gratitude and pride. "You three have done something remarkable. The town owes you a great debt." "We just did what we had to," Jake said modestly. Mrs. Peterson shook her head. "It takes great courage to face the unknown, especially something as terrifying as the dark spirit. You've proven yourselves to be true heroes." Lily smiled, her eyes reflecting the satisfaction of their hard-won victory. "We were lucky to have each other." The party continued well into the evening, the town basking in its newfound freedom. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Emma found herself wandering to the edge of the park, looking out towards the forest where they had faced their greatest challenge. The trees stood silent, their dark forms now devoid of the menacing fog that had once surrounded them. Emma felt a sense of closure, knowing that the curse had been broken and the town was safe. "Hey," Jake said, coming to stand beside her. "Penny for your thoughts." Emma smiled. "Just thinking about everything that happened. It feels like a dream." Jake nodded. "Yeah, it's hard to believe it's over. But we did it. We really did it." Lily joined them, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared journey. "What's next for us, do you think?" Emma looked at her friends, feeling a sense of determination. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together, just like we always have." In the weeks that followed the breaking of the curse, Moonveil began to transform. The townspeople, once gripped by fear and uncertainty, now moved with a renewed sense of purpose. The fog, which had shrouded the town in mystery and dread, was gone, and with it, the shadow that had hung over their lives. The local newspaper ran a series of articles detailing the events, from the initial disappearances to the brave actions of Emma, Jake, and Lily. Their story became a source of inspiration, not just for their peers, but for the entire community. The teenagers were frequently invited to speak at town meetings and school assemblies, where they shared their experiences and the lessons they had learned. Emma found herself reflecting on the significance of their adventure. She realized that the true victory lay not just in breaking the curse, but in the way it had brought the town together. Neighbors who had once been strangers now greeted each other warmly, united by a shared history and a collective triumph. Jake returned to his usual routine, but with a newfound confidence. He joined the school's debate team, using the skills and courage he had gained to excel in public speaking. His quick thinking and bravery during their ordeal had shown him that he was capable of much more than he had previously believed. Lily, always the artist, began to document their adventure through her drawings. She created a series of illustrations depicting key moments, from their discovery of the journal to the final confrontation with the dark spirit. Her work was celebrated at a local art exhibition, and she even received offers to illustrate children's books. As for Emma, she found herself drawn to the study of history and folklore. She spent hours in the library, uncovering more about Moonveil's past and the stories of other towns with similar legends. Her curiosity and determination led her to consider a future in archaeology or anthropology, fields where she could continue to explore and uncover the secrets of the past. One day, while exploring the library, Emma came across an old, forgotten section filled with books on ancient myths and legends. Among the dusty volumes, she found a book that detailed the history of curses and dark spirits. Intrigued, she borrowed it, hoping to understand more about the forces they had faced. As she delved into the book, Emma discovered that the dark spirit they had defeated was part of a much larger tapestry of supernatural phenomena. The spirit, once a guardian of the forest, had been corrupted by the actions of the early settlers, leading to the curse. But there were hints of other spirits, both benevolent and malevolent, existing in the world. Emma shared her findings with Jake and Lily, and they agreed that their journey was far from over. There were more mysteries to uncover, more stories to tell. They decided to form a club dedicated to exploring and protecting their town's history and folklore. They called it the Moonvale Explorers Society, and their first meeting was held in the very clearing where they had broken the curse. The society quickly grew, attracting other curious and adventurous souls. Together, they explored the forests, investigated old legends, and documented their findings. ensuring that Moonveil's history would never be forgotten. As the months turned into years, the trio remained close, their bond unbreakable. They faced new challenges and adventures, always with the same courage and determination that had seen them through the darkest times. And through it all, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Moonveil thrived, its people living with a newfound appreciation for their town's history and the bravery of three teenagers who had faced the darkness and won. The story of Emma, Jake, and Lily became a legend, passed down through generations, a testament to the power of friendship and the strength of the human spirit. And as Emma sat on her porch, watching the sunset, she felt a deep sense of peace. She knew that the future was bright and full of possibilities. Whatever adventures lay ahead, she was ready. She had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, and she knew that together they could face anything. The legacy of the Moonveil Explorers Society endured, a symbol of hope and courage for all who followed. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden light over the town, Emma smiled, knowing that the spirit of adventure would live on, forever entwined with the history of Moonveil. Years passed, and the Moonveil Explorers Society continued to thrive. Emma, Jake, and Lily, now in their early 20s, were well-respected figures in the town. The society had grown, attracting new members from neighboring areas, and their adventures had become increasingly daring and complex. One crisp autumn day, as the leaves turned vibrant shades of red and gold, Emma received a call that would set them on a new path. It was from Professor Andrew Caldwell, a renowned archaeologist and historian who had heard of their exploits and wanted to discuss a matter of great importance. "Emma, I've come across something that I believe only your team can handle," Professor Caldwell said, his voice urgent. "There are rumors of an ancient artifact hidden near Moonveil, one that could hold incredible power or unleash untold horrors." Intrigued and slightly apprehensive, Emma agreed to meet with the professor. She quickly gathered Jake and Lily, and they made their way to the small cafe where Caldwell had suggested they meet. Professor Caldwell was an imposing figure with a sharp intellect and a passion for uncovering the mysteries of the past. He greeted them warmly, but his eyes were filled with a sense of urgency. "Thank you for meeting me on such short notice," he began. "I've been researching an artifact known as the Eye of the Serpent. It's said to be a relic from an ancient civilization that once thrived in this region, long before the settlers arrived. Legends say it has the power to control minds and manipulate reality itself." Jake raised an eyebrow. "And you think it's here, in Moonveil?" Caldwell nodded. "All my research points to a hidden chamber beneath the old Moonveil church." The church was built on the ruins of a much older structure, one that may have been connected to this ancient civilization. Lily leaned forward, her eyes wide with excitement. "This sounds incredible. What do you need from us?" "I need your help to locate and retrieve the Eye of the Serpent," Caldwell explained. "I've heard of your bravery and expertise. I believe you're the only ones who can handle this." Emma exchanged glances with Jake and Lily. They all felt the same thrill of adventure that had driven them to break the curse years ago. "We're in," she said decisively. The following day, they met Caldwell at the Moonveil Church. The building was old but well-maintained, its stone walls and stained glass windows a testament to the town's history. The church had been a place of refuge and hope for generations, but now it held the key to a new mystery. Father O'Malley, the church's priest, welcomed them. He was an elderly man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. "Professor Caldwell has told me about your mission," he said. "I believe there is a passageway in the crypt that might lead to the chamber you're looking for." He led them to the crypt, a dimly lit room beneath the church filled with ancient tombs and memorials. The air was cool and musty, and the atmosphere was heavy with history. Father O'Malley pointed to a section of the wall where the stonework appeared slightly different. "Here," he said, "I believe this is where the passageway begins." Emma, Jake, and Lily examined the wall, and with Caldwell's guidance, they managed to find a hidden lever. With a creaking sound, the wall slid open, revealing a dark, narrow passage. Armed with flashlights and determination, they entered the passageway. The walls were lined with ancient carvings, depicting scenes of a long-lost civilization, worshipping a serpentine deity. The air grew colder as they descended deeper into the earth. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a vast underground chamber. The room was filled with eerie green light emanating from a central pedestal, upon which rested the eye of the serpent. The artifact was a large, emerald-like gem set in a golden frame, its surface swirling with mysterious energy. Caldwell approached it cautiously, his eyes wide with awe. "This is it," he whispered, "the eye of the serpent." But as they drew closer, the air crackled with tension, and a sense of foreboding filled the chamber. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the walls began to close in. The ancient guardians of the artifact had been awakened. "We have to get out of here," Jake shouted, his voice echoing in the chamber. Emma grabbed the eye of the serpent, and they raced back towards the passageway, the chamber collapsing behind them. They barely made it through the passageway before it sealed shut, trapping the ancient guardians within. Back in the crypt, they collapsed in relief, the eye of the serpent safely in Emma's hands. Professor Caldwell's eyes shone with excitement and gratitude. "You've done it. You've found the artifact." But Emma could feel the power of the eye, its influence tugging at her mind. "We need to be careful with this," she said. "It's incredibly powerful." Caldwell nodded. "We'll take it to a secure location and study it. With your help, we can uncover its secrets and ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." As they emerged from the crypt, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over Moonveil. The town had faced many challenges, but with the courage and determination of its people, it had always emerged stronger. Emma, Jake, and Lily knew that their journey was far from over. There were more mysteries to uncover, more adventures to embark on, and together, they would face whatever came next. The discovery of the eye of the serpent marked a new chapter in the lives of Emma, Jake, and Lily. The artifact was securely transported to Professor Caldwell's lab, where he began the painstaking process of studying its properties and origins. The Moonveil Explorers Society took on the role of guardians, ensuring that the eye remained safe from those who might seek to misuse its power. Weeks turned into months, and the Society's activities expanded. They continued to explore local legends and historical sites, documenting their findings and preserving the town's heritage. The eye of the serpent, however, remained their most significant discovery. Emma found herself increasingly drawn to the artifact. She spent countless hours in Caldwell's lab, assisting with research and trying to understand the full extent of the eye's capabilities. The gem seemed to pulse with energy, and she could feel its power resonating within her. One evening, as Emma was examining the eye under a magnifying glass, she noticed something unusual. Tiny inscriptions, barely visible to the naked eye, were etched into the surface of the gem. They appeared to be a language of some sort, one she had never seen before. "Professor Caldwell, look at this," she called, her voice tinged with excitement. Caldwell peered through the magnifying glass, his brow furrowing in concentration. "Incredible. These inscriptions are definitely not from any known language. This could be a key to unlocking the eye's secrets." They photographed the inscriptions and began the arduous task of deciphering them. It was a slow process, but with the help of Caldwell's extensive knowledge and Emma's intuition, they started to make progress. Meanwhile, strange occurrences began to plague Moonvale. People reported seeing shadowy figures at the edge of the forest, and unexplained noises echoed through the night. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the eye's power was somehow connected to these events. One night, as she lay in bed, Emma had a vivid dream. She was standing in an ancient temple, the walls covered in the same inscriptions as the eye. A voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in a language she couldn't understand but felt drawn to. She awoke with a start, the memory of the dream lingering in her mind. Determined to find answers, she headed to Caldwell's lab. Jake and Lily, sensing her urgency, joined her. "I had a dream," Emma explained. "It felt like a vision. I saw an ancient temple, and I heard a voice. I think the eye is trying to communicate with us." Caldwell listened intently. "It's possible. The eye might be reacting to your presence, trying to reveal its purpose." They continued their research, driven by the mystery of the inscriptions and the strange occurrences in Moonvale. As they delved deeper, they discovered references to an ancient prophecy, one that spoke of the eye and its power to either save or destroy. "The prophecy mentions a chosen one," Jake said, reading from an old manuscript. "Someone who can harness the eye's power and use it for good." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "Do you think it could be one of us?" "It's possible," Caldwell replied, "but we need to be careful. The eye's power is immense, and if it falls into the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic." As they pieced together the prophecy, they realized that the strange occurrences in Moonvale were connected to the eye. The artifact's awakening had disturbed the balance, and ancient forces were being drawn to its power. Determined to protect their town, Emma, Jake, and Lily prepared for a new adventure. They knew they had to find the temple from Emma's dream, the place where the eye's true power could be revealed and controlled. With the map they had deciphered from the inscriptions, they set out on a journey that would take them deep into the heart of the forest. The path was treacherous, filled with hidden dangers and ancient traps, but their resolve never wavered. After days of travel, they finally reached the temple. It was a magnificent structure, hidden for centuries and untouched by time. The walls were covered in the same inscriptions as the eye, and a sense of awe and reverence filled the air. Emma approached the altar at the center of the temple, where a pedestal similar to the one they had found in the underground chamber stood. The eye of the serpent seemed to hum with energy in her hands, growing warmer as she drew closer. She placed it carefully on the pedestal, and the entire temple began to resonate with a deep, ancient power. Suddenly, the inscriptions on the walls began to glow, casting an eerie green light throughout the chamber. The ground trembled slightly, and a low, rumbling voice filled the air, speaking the same language Emma had heard in her dream. Jake and Lily stood beside her, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension. "What do we do now?" Jake asked, his voice barely audible over the rumbling. "We listen," Emma replied, closing her eyes and focusing on the voice. She didn't understand the words, but she felt their meaning. The voice spoke of balance, of light and dark, of the power to heal and to destroy. It was a warning and a promise, a choice that only the chosen one could make. As the voice continued, Emma felt a connection forming between her and the eye. Images flashed in her mind, visions of the ancient civilization that had created the artifact, their rise and fall, and the terrible consequences of their misuse of its power. She saw the spirit guardians, once protectors, corrupted by the greed and ambition of those who sought to control the eye. When the visions faded, Emma opened her eyes. She felt a profound sense of responsibility. The power of the eye was immense, and it could easily fall into the wrong hands if not properly guarded. She knew now that she was the chosen one, entrusted with a duty to protect the artifact and ensure its power was used for good. We have to safeguard the eye, Emma said firmly. Its power is too great to be left unguarded. We need to find a way to seal it, to keep it safe from those who would misuse it. Professor Caldwell, who had accompanied them to the temple, nodded in agreement. There are ancient rituals described in the texts we studied. We can use those to create a protective barrier around the eye, one that will prevent anyone from accessing its power without the right intentions. Working together, they performed the ancient ritual, using the knowledge they had gained from their research. The air was thick with energy, and the temple walls pulsed with light as they chanted the incantations. The eye of the serpent began to glow brighter, its energy contained and controlled by the ritual. When they finished, the temple was filled with a sense of peace and tranquility. The eye was securely placed within a protective barrier, its power dormant but ever present. Emma felt a deep sense of relief, knowing that they had done everything possible to protect their town and the world from the artifact's potential dangers. As they made their way back to Moonveil, the forest seemed less foreboding, the shadows less menacing. The strange occurrences that had plagued the town ceased, and a sense of normalcy returned. The townspeople, unaware of the full extent of the adventure, welcomed them back with open arms. Back in Moonveil, life slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. The story of the Eye of the Serpent became another chapter in the rich history of the Moonveil Explorers Society, a tale of courage, wisdom, and the enduring power of friendship. Emma, Jake, and Lily continued their explorations, but they always kept a close watch on the temple, ensuring that the protective barrier remained intact. They knew that their journey was far from over, that there would always be new mysteries to uncover and new challenges to face. But with each other and the strength they had gained from their past adventures, they were ready for whatever came next. Years passed, and the Moonveil Explorers Society flourished. New members joined, bringing fresh energy and perspectives to the group. Emma, Jake, and Lily, now seasoned adventurers and respected leaders, continued to guide and inspire the society. The town of Moonveil became known far and wide for its rich history and the brave individuals who had protected it. Visitors came to hear the stories, to see the sights, and to meet the heroes who had faced the unknown and emerged victorious. Emma pursued her studies in archaeology, eventually becoming a renowned expert in ancient civilizations and their artifacts. Her work took her to distant lands, but Moonveil always remained her home. She wrote several books, sharing the knowledge and wisdom she had gained, and her lectures were attended by students and scholars from around the world. Jake followed his passion for public speaking and debate, becoming a prominent lawyer and advocate for historical preservation. He used his skills to protect historical sites and ensure that the lessons of the past were not forgotten. His dedication to justice and his quick thinking made him a formidable force in the courtroom. Lily continued her artistic endeavors, her illustrations capturing the beauty and mystery of the ancient world. She became a celebrated artist, her works displayed in galleries and museums. Her art brought history to life, inspiring others to explore and appreciate the past. The bond between Emma, Jake, and Lily remained unbreakable. They supported each other through life's challenges and celebrated each other's successes. The adventures they had shared and the dangers they had faced together had forged a connection that time could not diminish. "We've come a long way," Jake said, his voice filled with nostalgia. "And we've still got so much more to discover," Lily added, her eyes shining with excitement. Emma smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Whatever the future holds, we'll face it together, just like we always have." As they stood there, watching the town below, they knew that their story was far from over. There were still mysteries to uncover, adventures to embark on, and history to protect. And with the courage, wisdom, and friendship that had guided them through their greatest challenges, they were ready for whatever came next. And so, the legacy of the Moonveil Explorers Society lived on, a testament to the enduring power of curiosity, bravery, and the unbreakable bond of friendship. The story of Emma, Jake, and Lily became a legend, passed down through generations, inspiring others to explore, discover, and protect the wonders of the past. Many more years passed, and the legacy of the Moonveil Explorers Society continued to thrive. The tales of Emma, Jake, and Lily became the stuff of legend, passed down through generations as a beacon of courage and friendship. The society expanded its reach, taking on larger projects, unearthing hidden histories, and protecting ancient artifacts. Emma, now a world-renowned archaeologist, had just returned from an expedition in South America. She had uncovered a series of ancient ruins that hinted at a civilization even older than those known to history. As she stood on the steps of her childhood home in Moonveil, she felt the same excitement she had felt all those years ago when she first discovered the journal that led her and her friends on their epic adventure. Jake, having established a successful law practice, was using his skills to advocate for historical preservation and environmental conservation. His courtroom victories had saved countless historical sites from destruction and ensured that the stories of the past would not be lost to future generations. Lily had become a celebrated artist, her work showcased in galleries and museums worldwide. Her illustrations, inspired by their adventures, captured the imaginations of many, bringing the past to life in vivid detail. She had recently been commissioned to create a series of paintings depicting the legends of Moonveil. One evening, the trio gathered at their favorite spot on the hill overlooking Moonveil. The setting sun bathed the town in a warm, golden light, casting long shadows that danced on the ground. As they sat together, reminiscing about their past adventures, a sense of anticipation filled the air. "We've accomplished so much," Emma said, her voice filled with pride. "But I feel like there's still more out there, waiting for us." Jake nodded. "I've been hearing rumors about a series of ancient artifacts linked to the Eye of the Serpent. Apparently, they hold the key to understanding its full power and purpose." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Imagine the stories we could uncover, the history we could preserve. We can't let this opportunity pass us by." Emma smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of adventure. Then it settled. "We embark on one more journey together. Let's uncover the truth behind these artifacts and ensure they are protected." The decision made, they began preparing for their new expedition. With the help of the Moonveil Explorers Society, they gathered the necessary resources and information. The artifacts were rumored to be scattered across different continents, hidden in places of great historical significance. Their first destination was Egypt, where an ancient temple was said to house the first artifact. The temple, located deep within the desert, had remained untouched for centuries, its secrets buried beneath the sands. Upon arriving in Egypt, they were greeted by Dr. Nadia Hassan, a respected Egyptologist who had been intrigued by their request for assistance. She guided them to the temple, sharing her extensive knowledge of the region and its history. The temple was a magnificent structure, its walls adorned with intricate carvings and hieroglyphs. As they ventured deeper into the temple, the air grew cooler and the sense of ancient power became palpable. Emma, using her expertise in ancient languages, deciphered the inscriptions on the walls. These carvings speak of a sacred artifact, one that grants wisdom and power to its bearer. "It must be what we're looking for." They carefully navigated the temple's many traps and puzzles, their experience and teamwork guiding them through the challenges. Finally, they reached a hidden chamber, where a pedestal held a small, intricately carved box. With great reverence, Emma opened the box, revealing a beautifully crafted amulet. The amulet glowed faintly, its energy resonating with the same power as the eye of the serpent. "This is it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "One of the artifacts." Their success in Egypt fueled their determination as they traveled to their next destination, Greece. In the heart of Athens, an ancient library was said to contain the second artifact, hidden within a secret chamber. In Athens, they were joined by Professor Theo Marinos, a historian with a passion for Greek mythology. Together, they explored the ancient library, its shelves lined with scrolls and manuscripts. Emma's knowledge of ancient Greek texts proved invaluable as they searched for clues. After days of searching, they discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Inside, they found a room filled with ancient relics and documents. On a pedestal in the center of the room lay a golden lyre, its strings shimmering with an otherworldly light. Lily approached the lyre, feeling a connection to its energy. "This must be the second artifact," she said, gently plucking a string. The sound that emanated from the lyre was enchanting, filling the room with a melody that seemed to transcend time. With the second artifact secured, they set their sights on the final destination, a remote island in the Pacific, where an ancient tribe was said to guard the third and final artifact. The journey to the island was treacherous, but their resolve never wavered. Upon reaching the island, they were welcomed by the tribe's elders, who shared stories of the artifact's power and significance. The artifact, a crystal orb, was believed to hold the essence of life itself, capable of great creation and destruction. The elders led them to a sacred cave, where the crystal orb was kept. As they approached the orb, Emma felt its energy intertwine with the other artifacts, creating a sense of harmony and balance. With all three artifacts in their possession, they returned to Moonveil, where they carefully studied their combined powers. The artifacts, when brought together, revealed the full extent of the eye of the serpent's purpose, to maintain the balance between light and dark, creation and destruction. Understanding the importance of this balance, Emma, Jake, and Lily devised a plan to protect the artifacts and ensure they would never be misused. They created a sanctuary deep within the Moonveil forest, where the artifacts could be safely guarded. As they placed the artifacts within the sanctuary, the air hummed with energy, and the forest seemed to come alive with a renewed sense of peace. The balance had been restored, and the power of the artifacts was contained. With their mission accomplished, Emma, Jake, and Lily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had faced countless challenges and uncovered incredible mysteries, all while protecting the history and legacy of their town. As they stood together in the sanctuary, they knew that their journey had come full circle. They had grown from curious teenagers to wise and experienced guardians of history. And while their adventures might have come to an end, their legacy would endure, inspiring future generations to explore, discover, and protect the wonders of the past. And so, the story of the Moonveil Explorers Society continued to be told, a testament to the enduring power of friendship, courage, and the unbreakable bond of those who dared to face the unknown and emerged victorious. The legend of Emma, Jake, and Lily would live on, forever intertwined with the history and spirit of Moonveil. Despite their best efforts to safeguard the artifacts, a new threat emerged on the horizon. Whispers of the artifact's immense power had spread beyond Moonveil, reaching the ears of those who would stop at nothing to possess such power. Among them was a mysterious figure known only as the Seeker, a collector of ancient relics with a reputation for ruthless determination. The Moonveil Explorers Society soon found themselves under scrutiny. Strange individuals began appearing in town, asking questions and lurking in the shadows. The peaceful days that Emma, Jake, and Lily had enjoyed after their recent expedition were abruptly interrupted by this new wave of interest and danger. Please, she gasped. You must help me. They're coming. Emma quickly ushered her inside. Who are you? What happened? My name is Elena, the woman said, her voice trembling. I've been researching ancient artifacts, and I discovered information about the Eye of the Serpent and the other relics you found. The Seeker is after them. He'll stop at nothing to obtain their power. Jake's expression hardened. We've heard rumors, but we didn't realize how serious this was. Lily placed a comforting hand on Elena's shoulder. You're safe here. We'll protect you. But we need to know everything you can tell us about the Seeker. Elena nodded, taking a deep breath. The Seeker is a powerful figure in the black market of ancient relics. He has resources and connections all over the world. He's obsessed with obtaining artifacts that grant power or immortality. I overheard him talking about coming to Moonveil to find the artifacts you discovered. I managed to escape, but he's close behind. Emma, Jake, and Lily exchanged determined looks. Their peaceful days were over, and a new challenge lay before them. They had to protect the artifacts and their town from this new threat. We need to fortify the sanctuary, Emma said, and we need to gather our allies. The Moonveil Explorers Society must stand united against the Seeker. Over the next few days, the trio mobilized their resources. They reached out to their friends and colleagues, calling in favors and rallying support. The society members, many of whom had been inspired by Emma, Jake, and Lily's adventures, were eager to help. Professor Caldwell, Dr. Nadia Hassan, and Professor Theo Marinos all arrived in Moonveil, bringing their expertise and determination. Together, they devised a plan to strengthen the sanctuary's defenses and protect the artifacts from falling into the wrong hands. The first step was to create a series of magical wards around the sanctuary. Caldwell and Nadia, using their knowledge of ancient rituals, worked tirelessly to weave powerful protective spells. The wards would not only shield the artifacts, but also alert the society to any intruders. Meanwhile, Theo and Jake organized a team to patrol the forest and keep watch for any suspicious activity. The townspeople, once again rallying around their protectors, provided support by reporting any unusual occurrences. Elena, feeling a sense of responsibility and gratitude, offered to help. She had knowledge of the Seeker's tactics and resources, which proved invaluable in anticipating his moves. As they worked together, a sense of camaraderie and determination filled the air. The Moonveil Explorers Society had faced many challenges before, but this one felt different. They were not just protecting history. They were defending their home and the values they held dear. One night, as Emma stood guard at the sanctuary, she felt a presence approaching. The ward shimmered with energy, signaling an intruder. She alerted the others, and they quickly took their positions, ready to confront the threat. The Seeker appeared, flanked by a group of mercenaries. He was a tall, imposing figure, his eyes cold and calculating. He stepped forward, a sly smile on his face. I've heard much about you, Emma. You and your friends have quite the reputation. Emma stood her ground, her voice steady. And you must be the Seeker. You're not welcome here. Leave now, and no one has to get hurt. The Seeker laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the forest. I'm afraid that's not an option. I intend to take what is rightfully mine. A tense standoff ensued. The society members, their allies, and the townspeople stood united against the Seeker and his mercenaries. The air crackled with anticipation, and the moon cast an eerie glow over the scene. Suddenly, the Seeker raised his hand, and his mercenaries charged forward. The society members fought back fiercely, their training and determination shining through. Emma, Jake, and Lily moved with practiced precision, their bond and teamwork unmatched. The battle raged on, But the Seeker's forces were no match for the unity and strength of the society. As the mercenaries fell back, the Seeker himself stepped forward, his eyes locked on the sanctuary. "You can't stop me," he hissed, raising a hand to cast a powerful spell. But before he could act, Emma, drawing on the energy of the artifacts, created a barrier that deflected his magic. The power of the Eye of the Serpent and the other artifacts flowed through her, amplifying her strength and resolve. "You underestimate the power of unity and friendship," Emma said, her voice ringing with conviction. "We will protect these artifacts and ensure they are never misused." The Seeker, realizing he was outmatched, snarled in frustration. "This isn't over," he vowed, before disappearing into the shadows. With the immediate threat neutralized, the Society members and their allies breathed a sigh of relief. They had won the battle, but they knew the war was far from over. The Seeker would return, and they needed to remain vigilant. In the aftermath, the Society reinforced their defenses and continued their research, determined to uncover more about the artifacts and their true purpose. They knew that knowledge was their greatest weapon, and they dedicated themselves to learning as much as they could. As they stood together in the sanctuary, Emma, Jake, and Lily felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced many challenges, but this one had strengthened their bond and their resolve. "We've come a long way," Jake said, looking around at their friends and allies. "And we'll keep going, no matter what." Lily nodded. "Together, we can face anything." Emma smiled, feeling the power of their friendship and unity. "And we'll protect this town and its history, no matter the cost." And so, the Moonveil Explorers Society continued their journey, united in their mission to protect the past and secure the future. The story of Emma, Jake, and Lily, along with their friends and allies, became a beacon of hope and inspiration, reminding everyone that with courage, determination, and the power of friendship, anything is possible. The Moonveil Explorers Society's vigilance paid off in the months that followed. They spent countless hours fortifying their sanctuary and deepening their understanding of the artifact's power. The townspeople, now more aware of the potential dangers, rallied behind the society, offering support and resources. Despite their best efforts, the threat posed by the Seeker loomed large. His network of informants and mercenaries was vast, and it seemed that no matter how well they prepared, he was always one step ahead. One particularly crisp autumn morning, Emma received an urgent message from an old colleague, Dr. Mateo Alvarez, an expert in ancient South American civilizations. The message was cryptic but clear. "Come to the ruins of Teotihuacan. The answers you seek are here." Intrigued and sensing the importance of this message, Emma gathered Jake, Lily, and Elena. "We need to go to Mexico," she announced. "Dr. Alvarez believes he has information that could help us understand the artifacts and how to protect them." They wasted no time in making arrangements for the journey. Professor Caldwell, Nadia, and Theo agreed to stay behind and oversee the sanctuary's defenses in their absence. As they boarded the plane, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this trip would be pivotal in their ongoing battle against the Seeker. Upon arriving in Mexico, they were greeted by Dr. Alvarez at the airport. Despite his normally jovial demeanor, his face was etched with concern. "I'm glad you came so quickly," he said, leading them to a waiting vehicle. "What I've discovered could change everything." The drive to Teotihuacan was filled with anticipation. The ancient city, with its majestic pyramids and sprawling ruins, was a testament to the ingenuity and spirituality of its builders. Dr. Alvarez led them to a recently uncovered section of the site, away from the usual tourist paths. "This is where it gets interesting," he said, guiding them into a dimly lit chamber. The walls were covered in intricate carvings and symbols that seemed to pulsate with a strange energy. These carvings, he continued, pointing to a particular set of symbols, speak of a powerful being known as the Guardian of Balance. According to legend, this being was entrusted with the duty of maintaining the equilibrium between light and dark, life and death. Emma's eyes widened in realization. The eye of the serpent and the other artifacts. They're connected to this guardian, aren't they? Dr. Alvarez nodded. Exactly. These artifacts are not just relics of power. They are keys to awakening the guardian, who can either restore balance or tip the scales if misused. Lily traced her fingers over the carvings, feeling the ancient wisdom embedded in the stone. So, if the Seeker were to get his hands on all the artifacts, he could potentially control or destroy the Guardian, Jake finished, his voice grim. We have to ensure that doesn't happen. Dr. Alvarez revealed a hidden compartment in the chamber, inside which lay an ancient scroll. This scroll contains a ritual that can strengthen the Guardian's seal, making it nearly impossible for anyone with ill intentions to manipulate the artifact's power. Emma carefully examined the scroll. We need to perform this ritual as soon as possible. But where? The ritual must be conducted at a place where the energy lines of the earth converge, Dr. Alvarez explained. There's a location not far from here, an ancient temple deep in the jungle. It's a place of great power. With a sense of urgency, they prepared for the journey into the jungle. Dr. Alvarez arranged for supplies and local guides who were familiar with the terrain. The trek was arduous, the dense foliage and rough paths challenging their endurance. Yet, their resolve remained unshaken. After days of travel, they finally reached the ancient temple, hidden within the heart of the jungle. The structure was overgrown with vines and moss, its entrance guarded by statues of mythical creatures. The air was thick with anticipation as they stepped inside. The temple's inner chamber was a marvel of ancient engineering, with a circular altar at its center. As they gathered around the altar, Emma unfurled the scroll and began to read the ritual's instructions. Place the artifacts on the altar, she instructed. We need to align them according to the positions described here. Jake and Lily carefully arranged the artifacts, their hands steady despite the weight of their task. Elena, standing beside them, recited the incantations inscribed on the scroll, her voice echoing through the chamber. As the last words of the incantation were spoken, the artifacts began to glow, their energy intertwining and filling the room with a brilliant light. The ground trembled, and the air hummed with power. Emma, feeling the connection between the artifacts and the Guardian, continued the ritual, her voice unwavering. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light enveloped them. When it faded, a figure stood before them, a being of immense presence and serene power. The Guardian of Balance had awakened. Who dares to summon me? The Guardian's voice resonated, neither male nor female, but a harmonious blend of both. Emma stepped forward, her heart pounding. We are the Moonveil Explorers Society. We seek to protect the balance and ensure that these artifacts are not misused. The Guardian's gaze softened. You have done well to bring the artifacts together and perform the ritual. The balance must be preserved, and the darkness must not be allowed to tip the scales. With a wave of the Guardian's hand, the artifacts' glow intensified, and a protective barrier formed around them. The chamber hummed with energy, and the balance was restored. The Guardian looked at each of them, their eyes filled with ancient wisdom. You have shown great courage and dedication. Continue to protect the balance, and know that I will be watching over you. With that, the Guardian faded, leaving behind a sense of peace and renewed strength. The artifacts, now protected by the Guardian's seal, were safe from the Seeker's grasp. As they made their way back to Moonveil, Emma, Jake, Lily, and Elena felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious, their bonds stronger than ever. Back in Moonveil, they were greeted as heroes. The townspeople, aware of their bravery and the dangers they had faced, celebrated their return. The Moonveil Explorers Society had once again proven that with courage, determination, and unity, they could overcome any challenge. As Jake and Lily joined her, she smiled. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Jake nodded, his expression thoughtful. "And we've shown that we're stronger together." Lily, her eyes filled with determination, added, "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." The echoes of their adventures would resonate through time, a testament to the power of friendship, bravery, and the enduring spirit of those who dare to explore the mysteries of the past to protect the future. The sense of peace that had settled over Moonveil was short-lived. Despite the Guardian's assurance, Emma, Jake, Lily, and Elena knew that the Seeker would not give up so easily. His ambitions were too great, his desire for power too consuming. They remained vigilant, constantly improving the defenses around the sanctuary and staying in close contact with their network of allies. Emma's heart raced. Are the artifacts safe? Life in Moonveil returned to a semblance of normalcy following the defeat of the Seeker. The Moonveil Explorers Society continued their work, cataloging ancient artifacts, preserving the town's rich history, and sharing their knowledge with those willing to learn. Yet, beneath the surface, they remained ever watchful, keenly aware that the battle for balance was an ongoing one. One evening, as Emma sat in her study poring over ancient texts, a knock on the door drew her from her thoughts. She opened it to find a stranger, a tall, cloaked figure whose face was partially obscured by the shadows. "May I help you?" Emma asked cautiously, her senses on high alert. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a weathered face with sharp, intelligent eyes. "My name is Aiden," he said. "I bring news of a new threat, one that is tied to the artifacts you protect." Emma's heart sank. She invited Aiden in, and they sat at her desk as he began to explain. "There is a cult known as the Children of Twilight," Aiden began. "They believe that by harnessing the power of the artifacts, they can bring about eternal night and unlock untold power." Emma listened intently. "How do you know this?" Aiden sighed. "I was once one of them. I left when I realized the true extent of their intentions. They are fanatical and will stop at nothing to achieve their goals." Emma nodded, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "We need to warn the others and prepare. If they come for the artifacts, we must be ready." She called for an emergency meeting of the society. As Jake, Lily, Elena, Professor Caldwell, Nadia, and Theo gathered, Aiden relayed his story once more. The group listened in silence, their expressions growing more serious with each word. "The Children of Twilight are not to be underestimated," Aiden concluded. "They have resources and knowledge of ancient rituals that could rival even the Seekers." Jake clenched his fist. "We can't let them get their hands on the artifacts." Lily nodded in agreement. "We've fought dark forces before. We'll do it again." Elena stood, her resolve clear. "What's our plan?" Over the next few days, the society fortified their defenses, leveraging every bit of knowledge and magic at their disposal. They also reached out to their network of allies, gathering intelligence on the cult's movements and intentions. Aiden proved invaluable, sharing insights into the cult's hierarchy and rituals. Their leader, Morgana, is a powerful sorceress. She believes she is destined to wield the artifact's power and reshape the world. Emma spent hours in her study, cross-referencing Aiden's information with ancient texts and manuscripts. One night, she stumbled upon a reference to an ancient protective spell, one that could shield the artifacts from dark magic. "This might be the key," she told Jake. who had joined her late that night. If we can cast this spell, we could make it nearly impossible for the Children of Twilight to use the artifacts, even if they manage to steal them. Jake's eyes lit up with hope. Then we need to perform the spell as soon as possible. The society gathered in the sanctuary, the artifacts arranged in a circle at the center of the room. Emma and Elena took the lead in casting the spell, their voices rising and falling in a harmonious chant. The air crackled with energy as the spell took hold, a shimmering barrier forming around the artifacts. As the last words of the incantation were spoken, a brilliant light filled the room. The barrier solidified, its surface pulsating with protective magic. "It's done," Emma said, her voice filled with both relief and exhaustion. "The artifacts are safe for now." But even with the protective spell in place, the society knew they could not rest easy. The Children of Twilight would come, and they would come with force. They needed to be ready for the inevitable confrontation. Weeks passed with no sign of the cult, but the society remained vigilant. Then, one stormy night, their worst fears were realized. An alarm sounded, echoing through the sanctuary. The Children of Twilight had arrived. Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden rushed to the sanctuary's entrance, where they were met by a group of robed figures led by a woman with an aura of dark power, Morgana. "You cannot stop us," Morgana declared, her eyes glowing with malevolence. "The artifacts will be ours." Emma stepped forward, her voice unwavering. "You underestimate our resolve, Morgana. We will protect the balance at all costs." A fierce battle erupted, magic and weapons clashing in a whirlwind of light and darkness. The society fought valiantly, their bond and training guiding their every move. Aiden faced his former comrades with a mix of regret and determination, his knowledge of their tactics giving the society a crucial edge. As the battle raged, Emma and Morgana squared off, their powers colliding in a dazzling display. Morgana's dark magic was formidable, but Emma's resolve was unbreakable. Drawing on the strength of her friends and the Guardian's protection, she pushed back against Morgana's assault. "You cannot win," Emma said, her voice ringing with conviction. "The balance must be preserved." With a final, desperate effort, Emma unleashed a powerful spell that enveloped Morgana in a sphere of light. The sorceress screamed, her form disintegrating under the onslaught of pure magic. As Morgana vanished, the remaining cult members fled, their resolve shattered. The society, battered but victorious, stood together, their bond stronger than ever. The battle had been won, but they knew the war was far from over. The Children of Twilight were a persistent threat, and there would always be those who sought to disrupt the balance. But for now, Moonveil was safe. The artifacts, protected by the Guardian's magic, remained under the society's watchful eye. Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden took a moment to breathe, their hearts filled with both relief and resolve. They had faced darkness and emerged into the light, their bond unbreakable and their mission clear. The Moonveil Explorers Society would continue to stand as guardians of the past, protectors of the balance, and beacons of hope for the future. And so, the legacy of Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden continued to inspire. Their story, a testament to courage, friendship, and the enduring fight for balance, would echo through the ages, reminding all who heard it that even in the face of darkness, the light of hope and unity could never be extinguished. The days following the defeat of Morgana were filled with a sense of cautious optimism. Moonveil thrived under the renewed sense of security, and the Moonveil Explorers Society resumed their work, ever vigilant but hopeful. However, deep down, they knew the Children of Twilight were not vanquished, merely scattered. The Society's new ally, Aiden, became an integral part of their efforts. His knowledge of the cult and his genuine desire for redemption made him a valuable member. Together, they continued to study the artifacts, reinforcing the protective spells and exploring new ways to safeguard the balance. One evening, as the society gathered in the sanctuary for their weekly meeting, Aiden shared troubling news. "I've been tracking remnants of the cult," he began, his expression grave. "They are regrouping under a new leader, someone even more dangerous than Morgana." The room fell silent. Professor Caldwell, who had been quietly reviewing some ancient texts, looked up with concern. "Who is this new leader?" Aiden took a deep breath. "Her name is Seraphina. She's a powerful necromancer with ambitions that dwarf even Morgana's. She believes the artifacts hold the key to an ancient prophecy, one that could plunge the world into eternal darkness." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "We need to find her and stop her before she can put her plans into action." Jake nodded in agreement. "But we need more information. We need to know what she's planning and how we can counter it." Elena, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "There's a legend about a hidden library in the mountains, said to contain forbidden knowledge and ancient prophecies. If it exists, it might hold the answers we need." The decision was made. Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden would journey to the mountains in search of the hidden library, while Caldwell, Nadia, and Theo remained in Moonveil to continue their research and maintain the sanctuary's defenses. The journey to the mountains was arduous, the terrain rugged, and the weather unpredictable. As they trekked through dense forests and scaled steep cliffs, the group's bond only grew stronger. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of quiet reflection, each step bringing them closer to their goal. After several days of travel, they reached a secluded valley where, according to legend, the hidden library was located. The entrance was concealed behind a waterfall, and it took their combined efforts to uncover the hidden mechanism that revealed the way inside. The library was a marvel of ancient architecture, with towering shelves filled with dusty tomes and scrolls. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and the weight of forgotten knowledge. As they explored, they discovered a central chamber where a massive, intricately carved table stood, covered in ancient texts. Emma, with Aiden's help, began to decipher the writings. The text spoke of a prophecy, one that foretold the rise of a necromancer who would seek to use the artifacts to summon an army of the dead and shroud the world in darkness. But they also spoke of a counterbalance, a group of guardians who could prevent this catastrophe by harnessing the power of light. "This is it," Emma said, her voice trembling with both excitement and fear. "This is what Seraphina is after. We need to stop her before she can fulfill this prophecy." Jake clenched his fist. "We need to find her and take the fight to her." As they delved deeper into the texts, they found references to a ritual that could enhance the protective spells around the artifacts, making them impervious to dark magic. The ritual required a rare crystal, one that was said to be hidden in the heart of the mountains. Their path was clear. They needed to find the crystal and perform the ritual before Seraphina could execute her plan. With renewed determination, they set out deeper into the mountains, following the clues left in the ancient texts. Their journey was fraught with danger. The mountain paths were treacherous, and they encountered wild beasts and natural obstacles that tested their resolve. But their unity and determination saw them through, and after several days, they reached a hidden cave where the crystal was said to reside. The cave was guarded by ancient wards, but Emma and Aiden's combined knowledge allowed them to bypass the defenses. Inside, they found the crystal a magnificent gem that pulsed with a soft, ethereal light. As they prepared to leave, they were ambushed by a group of Seraphina's followers. The battle was fierce, the confined space of the cave adding to the intensity. Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden fought with everything they had, their bond and training guiding their every move. Just as it seemed they might be overwhelmed, a burst of light filled the cave. The Guardian of Balance appeared, their presence driving back the attackers. "You have done well," the Guardian said, their voice echoing with power. "But your journey is not over. You must perform the ritual and prepare for the final confrontation." With the crystal in hand, they made their way back to Moonveil, their minds focused on the task ahead. The ritual, though complex, was their best hope of thwarting Seraphina's plans. Back in the sanctuary, the society gathered once more. Professor Caldwell, Nadia, and Theo had made preparations, and with the crystal in place, Emma and Aiden led the ritual. The air crackled with energy as the spell took hold, a shimmering barrier forming around the artifacts, stronger than ever before. As the last words of the incantation were spoken, the Guardian appeared once more. "The balance is in your hands," they said. "Seraphina will come, and when she does, you must be ready." The society prepared for the inevitable confrontation. They fortified the sanctuary, trained tirelessly, and reached out to their allies. The final battle was approaching, and they knew that their strength, unity, and determination would be tested like never before. One stormy night, as the winds howled and lightning lit up the sky, Seraphina and her followers arrived. The air was thick with tension as the two sides faced off, the future of the world hanging in the balance. Seraphina stepped forward, her eyes glowing with dark power. "You cannot stop me," she declared. "The prophecy will be fulfilled, and the world will bow to my will." Emma stepped forward, her voice steady and unwavering. "We will protect the balance, no matter the cost." The battle that ensued was unlike any they had faced before. Magic and weapons clashed in a dazzling display of light and darkness. The society fought with everything they had, their bond and training guiding them through the chaos. Emma and Seraphina squared off, their powers colliding in a spectacular duel. Seraphina's dark magic was formidable, but Emma's resolve, strengthened by her friends and the Guardian's protection, was unbreakable. Drawing on the power of the crystal and the unity of her friends, Emma unleashed a final, powerful spell that enveloped Seraphina in a sphere of light. The necromancer screamed, her form disintegrating under the onslaught of pure magic. As Seraphina vanished, her followers fled, their resolve shattered. The society, battered but victorious, stood together, their bond stronger than ever. The balance had been preserved, but they knew the fight was far from over. There would always be those who sought to disrupt the balance, and the Moonveil Explorers Society would continue to stand as guardians, protectors, and beacons of hope. As the storm cleared and the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, Emma, Jake, Lily, Elena, and Aiden looked out over Moonveil, their hearts filled with both relief and resolve. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light, their bond unbreakable and their mission clear. The legacy of the Moonveil Explorers Society would continue to inspire, their story a testament to courage, friendship, and the enduring fight for balance. And as the echoes of their adventures resonated through time, future generations would remember their sacrifice and determination, knowing that even in the face of darkness, the light of hope and unity could never be extinguished.